Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Coop Radio. It has been a minute since I have sat down and recorded, but I am happy to be back after this nice long hiatus, couple weeks where I haven't recorded a show. But this should be hopefully a shorter one, kind of recapping everything that I've kind of missed over the last how many weeks, and then obviously touching on some small stuff from this past weekend in Richmond. Uh, but let's go ahead and start with this. Obviously, big news over the last couple weeks has mainly been obviously silly season stuff, so to speak, some small moves and stuff like that that I wanted to cover very quickly, and then we'll get into some more bigger stuff as far as I'm concerned. Some other small stuff that obviously happened. Sawalich and Taylor Gray, William Sawalich, that is, both JGR guys in the O'Reilly series are staying at JGR for next year at least. Long story short, not too surprised by that. Those two staying. I didn't really feel like either of them are obviously ready for Cup Series, and I didn't feel as though so far that they have not performed up to the standards of being able to drive the 18 and the 54 cars. There's not really a whole lot of greater options. They've been just fine. And so therefore, obviously, hey, keep them around. I think they both have won this year. I know Sawalich has, and I'm pretty sure Taylor Gray's had one win, I believe, this year as well. So, again, you look at the landscape of other Rally Series guys. The other thing about those two staying is it's only going to be better for them next year. Number one, because of the fact that they get another year being in those cars, a little bit more stability there to stay in the same respective teams with probably the most same respective people. And also, too, the big thing is, hey, look, a lot of other decent competition is leaving. Jesse Love is gone. Austin Hill is most likely gone. And who's to say some other guys won't leave the O'Reilly series as well, or even some others that off the top of my head I'm not remembering. And so you're going to have some guys who aren't used to the O'Reilly series probably coming in either from the truck series or maybe some Cup Series guys who haven't raced O'Reilly series consistently coming in, taking some of those spots that are vacant now. Chandler Smith is another one that, I know I believe he had a stint in the O'Reilly series there for a minute. And he obviously moved down to the truck series. And he has been in that Front Row Motorsports crew, and he's obviously leaving. He's not returning to Front Row Motorsports next year, and most likely due to him taking over one of those open RCR rides in the O'Reilly series, which I think, honestly, just to go off of that really quick, I think that's honestly a perfect spot for him. I think either him in the 2 or the 21 is a perfect spot for him. He is decent enough. He is, again, one of those guys that I feel as though he's an O'Reilly series guy. He obviously has enough talent that he showed in the truck series that he can be decently fast. And I don't think that it's like, oh, he's going to come in and compete for the championship right out the gate, whether he's in the 2 or the 21. But it's one of those serviceable guys who can maybe get you a couple wins a season, can run pretty well, will probably make the chase, and will be a top level guy in the O'Reilly series. So I think Chandler Smith going to either the 2 or the 21 is a perfect spot for him in the O'Reilly series for RCR. And again, on Sawalich and Gray, look, Sawalich is still young. I think that maybe over the next couple of years, if things change, people are going to retire eventually. There are going to be some openings. He might get into a decent ride in the Cup Series in the next couple of years. I don't know. Same thing with Taylor Gray. But I think that's more so on the side of, hey, look, they've been fine this year, serviceable. They're right on that cut line of the chase, which is not really something that I like. Just the simple fact that you got JGR cars out there that are on the cut line and not really showing a whole lot of speed as far as like being top level, like where Junior Motorsports, is right now. The cream of the crop, the very top end of the O'Reilly series. You'd kind of hope that they'd be running a little bit better. But at the same time, Sawalich is kind of new to the O'Reilly series. Somewhat same thing with Taylor Gray as far as being in that 54. So the expectation, I think, is that they will improve from this year to next year. but it's not a guarantee that, they're going to go out there, like I said, and tear it up next year. It's just more so the idea that keep some stability in that role at JGR, and who knows, who knows who else is even out there that could be better. Dean Thompson is also moving over to a third Haas factory team car. This one makes no sense to me. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna pull up his racing reference page here because I'm curious as to why, besides the obvious. But this is one of those moments of, look, some people just get opportunities a lot more because of funding. And the idea that Haas factory team is willing to open up a third ride just for this guy who really, at the end of the day, looking at his how he's ran the last 2 seasons, he did get 1 top 5 last year in the O'Reilly Series, 8 top 10s over the 33 starts. He ranked 16th in the point standings, it looks like. Average finish of about 17th. This year, a little bit worse. Hasn't had a top 5 yet, only 3 top 10s through 23 starts. And right now, he's 18th in the points with an average finish of 19th, basically 20th. It's 19.7. In the Truck Series, he had been in for the previous 3 years. Again, not much better numbers. 22, he didn't have a single top 5 or top 10. It was 23rd in the points. Mind you, this is Truck Series. 23, it was a little bit better. He had 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s, finishing 20th in the points. And then in 24, obviously no top 5s and then 6 top 10s with a point standings finish of 16th. Average finishes in the Truck Series, by the way, 25, or 25th, I should say, in 2022, 22nd in 2023, and 18.9, so basically 19th in 2024. This is purely somebody who's getting opportunities, obviously, because of funding and money. It is frustrating because you see other guys who obviously have ran better, who are better. I mean, Jesus Christ, the perfect example of somebody like that, if you want to look in even the O'Reilly Series, is both guys who run for Viking Motorsports right now, I would take over Dean Thompson. And I think Parker Retzlaff, he's getting a lot more love now, finally, by a good amount of people. But he is so still overlooked and underrated, in my opinion, based off of the equipment that he's been in. He's sitting 9th in the point standings right now. He's got just as many top 10s as Austin Hill, Sammy Smith, Sam Mayer, William Sawalich. He's got just as many top 10s as all those guys. And by the way, I would venture to believe that the JGR, RCR, and Haas factory team equipment is probably better than the Viking Motorsports equipment. And he's got just as many top 10s as all those guys. He has only 7 laps led, but it's not about, for him, laps led, because, again, they don't have the speed. It's about just keeping the car clean and being consistent. And that has gotten him to a point where I believe there's only one more race left in the chase, and if he's not already locked in, he's basically locked in to making the top 12. Yeah, he's at 405 behind Justin Allgaier, and Brent Cruz, who's in that 12th spot, is 450. I mean, yes, technically he could finish last, and one of those guys could really have great days, and so he's mathematically not locked in yet, but he's basically locked into the chase. And again, he's beaten guys like Brent. Brent has had how many less races, but he's beaten Sawalich, he's beaten Sam Mayer, he's beating Taylor Gray, he's beating Raja, who's in, basically junior motorsports equipment every week. He has had a very good season this year. Not to mention the simple fact that, even in previous years, even if we were looking at Parker Retzlaff's numbers, just out of curiosity, let's just look at, I'm going to search it up now. I guarantee he's probably had better numbers Yeah, in 23, he had a top five, seven top tens, ranked 16th in the points, average finish 17th. Last couple years, not as good, but two top fives, four top tens. Even had two poles in 2024. Led 50 laps. Finished 21st in the points, 22nd in the points in last year in 2025. But he had a top 10, three top fives, or excuse me, backwards. One top five, three top tens. Average finish of 22nd last year. This year he has jumped massively. So I'm not in the camp of being very happy about the fact that a guy like Dean Thompson is getting a Haas factory team ride. That's the third car. You don't know how good the car is going to be. I'm not in the camp of really happy about this, but again, it's all about money. It's about funding. It doesn't matter how good Alfredo, how much better Alfredo could be. It doesn't matter how much better Ratzlav could be. It doesn't matter how much better. Go down the list. Going back to point standings now. Doesn't matter how much better, a Nick Sanchez could be. And I'm just picking off names off of the O'Reilly series here. It doesn't matter how many of these other guys that get small opportunities, how much better they could be. Harrison Burton, Jeb Burton. Doesn't matter how much better those guys could be. It's just the fact that Dean is going to bring more funding and more money to this opportunity, and so therefore he gets it. So I don't expect anything out of that third Haas factory team car. I think it really is more so the main advantage for him, obviously, is just that he gets two teammates who will probably be decent next year. Sheldon Creed will be pretty good, probably be a championship contender next year. And Sam Mayer, who's fine. Don't really think he's that great. I think he's just another person to have in the field for the O'Reilly series, not the Cup series, but the O'Reilly series. So it'll be great for when it comes to super speedways and drafting tracks. They'll have a third Haas factory team car out there to help them as far as the numbers wise. Beyond that, I don't see a reason why, if you're going to have a third car, you'd pick Dean Thompson. Here's the other big news, a lot more recent. Now we'll get out of the O'Reilly series and we'll jump to the Cup series here quick. Alex Bowman, I didn't get a chance to talk about this. Alex Bowman, who actually has been running pretty decently the last couple races here at Iowa and this last weekend, or not last weekend, but this last night, I should say, at the time of me recording this, at Richmond. Bowman's been running a lot better ever since he came back, but also he announced that he is retiring. This is really old news, but we're going to talk about this now. I will not lie, even after the last how many weeks of hearing that Alex Bowman is retiring from NASCAR full-time after the 2027 season next year, it happens very rarely, but there are times that people who are involved in pro sports of any kind do not look at respective pro sport as something that they want to do well into their 40s. It is the expectation of everybody that every pro athlete, no matter who they are, no matter how good they are, no matter how bad they are, or, whatever the state of their careers are, the expectation is that they're going to want to do it as long as possible. Everybody wants to, if they're playing a stick and ball sport, play until they're either 40 or just beyond 40. And it's seemingly the same in NASCAR. That being said, there is the random person like the Andrew Luck who plays into their 30s, mid to early 30s, and looks at their career and says, I've had enough. I'm all good. Carl Edwards in 2016 did the same thing. Said, you know what? I'm all good. I don't need to do this anymore. And obviously, when Alex was asked about it, his answer was pretty simple. Look, there's a lot of things I want to do in my life outside of racing that I can't do if I keep racing. I can't do the things I want to do if I continue to race for 36 weeks out of the season, or 38 if you count the Clash and the All-Star race. And I would like some more time for myself. Now, I don't know how much money Alex has already made, but I can't imagine it's a small amount. He's probably got a couple million in the bank at least. He has been racing in the Cup Series and at HMS for at least 8 years now. And I can't imagine that Alex is the most frugal with his money. I can't imagine that he's out there dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars on toys and cars and watches and houses and shit like that. I can't imagine he's that type of person. I immediately imagine him as somebody who just doesn't spend money on anything and just has it sitting in the bank somewhere untouched. And so the idea of him saying, you know what, I've had enough. I'll just do this on a part-time thing if I ever do want to race again. I'll just do it every now and then. That does not surprise me at all. Even his personality as a whole, it never came off as though it just came off as though he felt extremely lucky to be there, and that he never felt like he was, I don't want to say good enough, but that he never felt confident enough to own that role of being a driver at HMS. How many years there when he was in limbo of his contract and, are they going to sign him to an extension and whatever? When he was asked about it years and years ago, what was his responses? Well, I mean, I'm just lucky to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Hopefully I can stay around. I'd like to stay around. There was no fight for, I deserve this. There was no fight for saying I should be this guy. I deserve to be one of the four amongst some of the best NASCAR teams that are offered. I deserve to be in HMS equipment. There was no fight for that. It was just, I'm just okay. I'm just fine being here. I'm just happy being here. And so for him to come to the conclusion of, hey, you know what? I got all these millions of dollars in the bank, and I'm never going to probably spend this for the rest of my life. I maybe want to just go on some trips. I want to go on some cool vacations, go see some things around either the country or around the world that I haven't gotten to see yet. I want to try different things. I want to experience different things. Maybe I want to try different forms of racing just for fun. And I can't do that if I'm committed to NASCAR for the 38 weeks out of the season. And I'm not one of the types of people to get into a Cup Series race, run 400 laps at Richmond, and then hop out of the car, run to a helicopter or to a private plane or whatever, fly to some sprint car race, and go out in there and run dirt for the next X amount of hours and win that. He doesn't have that gene. He doesn't have that want or that drive to do those kinds of things. And so I, for one, in the totality of it, I am surprised that he chose to just say, I'm retiring completely. But in retrospect, if you look at it harder, it's not that surprising. If you kind of put some of the personality pieces together, the nonchalantness, the quietness, it almost feels like he wasn't built to be, I don't want to say built to be a NASCAR Cup Series driver, but it's more so just he wasn't built to be a, quote, superstar, because he's put in a position where he kind of needs to be a superstar. He needs to be outgoing. He needs to show a personality. He needs to be in front. You can't be an HMS guy and just be a guy in the background. You need to be a guy who's willing to be on the front page of whatever NASCAR thing there is. and be willing to go out and do those things that obviously I don't think he really wanted to do. I think he'd probably rather, just like a lot of the guys in the Cup Series and a lot of guys in racing, he just wants to show up when when he needs to, practice when he needs to, race when he needs to, and then the first chance he gets to go home and relax and enjoy himself and remove himself from racing almost. It's healthy to do that in doses, but at the same time, if you want to be truly successful and you want to truly try to win as much as you can and be as good as you possibly can, it needs to just kind of be your life. And if that's not what you want it to be, well, then him retiring now and just being okay with hanging it up maybe is the best thing for him. Some people are not built that way, where they want to do it 38 weeks out of the year for 20 years. Not everybody can be Denny Hamlin and just has that obsession, or Kevin Harvick or Jeff Gordon or whomever, who do it well into the late years, do it for 20 plus years at a high level. And Bowman has won his races. I'm not sitting here saying he's untalented, but let's also point this factor out. The writing was on the wall, I think, also, that he was kind of done there. And I don't know, conspiracy theory thing here. I don't know if he was kind of told, hey, look, man, we're probably not going to bring you back. And we'll probably either look to fill in the 48 with either Connor Zilic, which we'll get to him in a second, if he's available. And if not him, then we'll look at, Corey Day, who we've got sitting in the O'Reilly series. But I'm just telling you now, Alex, we're probably not going to bring you back. The results just haven't been there. You've been the fourth guy every year. It hasn't really relatively been close a lot of times. And this just isn't working. You're 30-some years old at this point. We haven't seen the improvement we've kind of wanted. We've given you 8 years. 8 nice years, and nothing has changed. So at that point, yeah, the time is to move on. Try something else. A lot of people have been saying this for a while, that HMS needs to try something else. I'm also one of those people that is in the camp of give people time. Give people enough time to get better, to improve, to get used to the car, whatever. Especially these younger guys, like the Truck Series guys or the O'Reilly Series guys. Don't give them just a year or two and then bounce them out like a Josh Berry and not give them enough time to get used to the car. You have to give them time. Some people it takes 100 starts. Some people it takes less. Not everybody's the same. Sometimes it takes more than 100 starts, but you'll never know until you give them enough of a leash. 8 years is enough of a leash. It's well more than enough of a leash. At that point, we're willing to take a chance on somebody else because there's been no change. There's no shift in getting closer to being the second best guy this year or the first best, the number one guy this year in HMS. It's always third or fourth. So it was probably time for him to move on, regardless of whether or not they were actually going to kick him to the curb. I don't know, but good for him, And listen, hey, at the end of the day, he gets to get out there with all of his health, a bunch of money, feeling good about himself. And regardless of whether he wins another race for the rest of his Cup Series career at HMS or not, who cares, man? You made a ton of money. I would think you made enough money to live for the rest of your life comfortably and not have to do anything else. And you get to say you drove the 48 car in the Cup Series for 8 years and no one can take that away from you. And listen, not everybody is 100 best drivers ever. Not everybody gets to win races. There are guys who race in NASCAR for 20-some years, 30-some years, whatever, who never won a race. and scratched and clawed and tried their absolute best to either get in better equipment or get better equipment or whatever, and they never won a single Cup Series race. This dude won what, 8? 7 or 8, something like that. So, and you made probably millions of dollars. So I think you can't really, not everybody gets to be Kyle Busch. Not everybody gets to be Jeff Gordon. Not everybody gets to be Dale Earnhardt. Not everybody gets to be, you know, Darrell Waltrip, Jimmy Johnson. Not everybody even gets to be Dale Jr. and win 26 races and almost should have won one Cup Series championship. You know, not everybody even gets to be him. So, yeah, he's pretty lucky to have been in the spot that he's been in. And he did fine. So good for him. Now, as far as who replaces him, I heard a lot of rumors that it was Connor Zilisch. And look, it kind of sounds like it's going to be Connor. Based off of the talk of Trackhouse president Justin Marks, where he was talking about, like, look, we're only focused on this year and next year with Connor, and he kind of was like, yeah, we're just focused on this year, next year, and Connor will do what Connor wants to do. That's kind of what he kind of said on that topic. My thing is if Trackhouse is still committed to having 3 cars full time, the 88, the 97, and the 1, they're still committed to having all 3 of those cars full time, and they aren't considering, with the loss of Pitbull from a couple years ago and their obvious downside, like them dipping down now and not running as well, if they're still committed to having all 3 charters, why would you let him walk? Understandably, maybe the simple idea of we can't compete with the amount of money that HMS would give Connor, on top of the fact that HMS is much, 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 much better equipment every single week, consistently. Besides that, why would you would be, if he's the future of Trackhouse, if you kept him. Like, he's your guy. SVG is already into his 30s and he'll be around for 8 to 10 years at most. But who's to say he'll stick around for all those 8 to 10 years? I like Ross as much as the next guy, and I think that he is still very talented. But there's no denying, this year he has fallen off a cliff compared to previous years. And even if you look over the year-by-year numbers of how he's performed since 2022, it's been a slow decline every single year. We've already talked about this on the podcast. We've already, talked about the numbers. That's your guy. Like, Connor is what, not even 20? If he is 20, he just turned 20? And you're going to just roll over and let him go? I would be fighting my ass off to keep Connor. Not only that, I understand that Connor has been abysmally bad this year, but has anybody been paying attention these last couple weeks to Connor Zilisch? All of a sudden, he's starting to get it. All of a sudden, it's starting to come around. Now, is it because, and also, by the way, it conveniently came not too long after Alex Bowman announced his retirement, and then all those Connor Zilisch to HMS rumors started. Now, is that Connor Zilisch putting in a bit more, getting a little bit more used to the car, kind of finally getting it? Or is it Trackhouse putting more towards Connor's car in the hopes of showing him, hey, we're committed to you. We want you're our guy. We want you to run better here. And the better that Connor runs, maybe the more convinced that Connor would to be staying at Trackhouse. You can get into the weeds on conspiracy theories and theories in general on all of that, but if I'm Connor Zilisch, understandably, towards Trackhouse and, hey, you're committed to us and you helped me greatly to get my career started, but it's HMS. Like, you just can't compete with that. Unless you turn around and somehow get in good with Dodge when they get into the Cup Series here, and you get really good equipment from Dodge and you really find some speed there, unless you're going to be one of those guys that does that, like, what am I staying here for? I'm going to go to the top Chevrolet team since forever that has won championships consistently, if not every year, almost every year, with either Chase or Larson or whomever, since, the inception of the team, basically. Always top equipment, always the best, always number one. I'm going to go to them. I'm going to go drive for HMS over Trackhouse, who had like one good year and has slowly declined every year since. And this year, besides SVG, has been like the worst year by far. If I were to be a betting man, I would bet that probably Connor doesn't stay with Trackhouse and goes to HMS. That's my assumption. I don't know what that leaves for Corey Day then, because it kind of seemed like Corey Day is Hendrick Motorsports' pet project to try to probably bring into one of their HMS rides. But if that's not the case anymore, well, then if Zilich goes to the 48, maybe Corey Day goes to the 88 and he takes a Trackhouse ride. Or whatever other affiliate to Hendrick Motorsports there is. Maybe Corey Day goes there. Or maybe Corey just stays in the O'Reilly Series. But I don't feel like if Corey does well enough in the O'Reilly Series that he's going to be willing to just sit there. He doesn't seem like somebody who is willing to be okay with just being an O'Reilly Series guy. He's going to take the first chance he gets. Well, it's just as much as any O'Reilly Series guy. He's going to take any chance that he can get to the Cup Series. So, and I would say this also. If you told me, hey, pick between Connor Zilich and Corey Day on who you want to drive your car, there is no question there as well. Like, I would pick Connor Zilich over Corey Day pretty much every time. I mean, Zilich had one of the most dominant O'Reilly Series seasons I've seen in forever, right before he did go to the Cup Series. What was it, 11 wins, like the most points by a country mile over the next guy. Like, it wasn't even close. And now that he's funny enough, now that he's just starting to get it, now that he's just finally now starting to find some decent speed, now is when he's just going to bounce. Next year he's going to probably be even better. Probably run a little bit better, and then he's going to leave. So be like, oh yeah, thanks Trackhouse. You're just a feeder group for HMS. And let's talk about Gragson really quick. It was announced earlier this week, actually, this is more recent news, that Gragson is back in the 4-car for Front Row Motorsports in 2027, with some options to return for an even longer extension beyond that. No details I've seen as far as how many more years it is, whether it's just for 28 or if it also goes to 29. I'm not sure about that. But Gragson is staying. So as of right now, it looks like the Front Row Motorsports group of Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, and Noah Gragson are all staying at Front Row. Front Row, I think, sometimes for me, because again, you're sold as a fan, hey, it's the next gen car, so everybody gets the same thing, and everybody is on an even playing field, and everybody is, everybody's expectations are the same, therefore. And so if you're not top 20 in the points, if you're not competing for a spot in the chase, if you're not winning races, if you're not racking up top fives and top tens, well then you're underperforming. You're not doing very well. Blah blah blah. And in some cases, that's true. That's fair. That's a fair argument to make, especially when it comes to, obviously all the top teams and even like the second tier teams. We've seen some good second tier teams really step up this year. I think RFK is a perfect example of that. Also, by the way, Ryan Priest back in RFK for 2027. But when it comes to Gregson, I saw somebody post on here, I'll pull it up here quick. Somebody put up all of the numbers that Gregson has had, like his main numbers since being in the Cup Series. He's raced 134 races. So by the way, that line that everybody says of like, oh, 100 races is where you really see it. In some ways, yes, I agree with that. In some ways, I don't. And like I said, some people need a longer leash. Gregson has had 134 Cup Series races. He has not won a single race, and he has not gotten a single pole. Which is like, whatever. You know what I mean? He's been in colleague racing and front row motorsports racing equipment. Not exactly the most top tier stuff. He's led 24 laps, and he's had 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s. Over 134 races. In my opinion, if there is no improvement from Gregson next year, I don't think they should bring him back. And in a lot of ways this year, I thought they shouldn't have brought him back. I feel as though his best position is to be an O'Reilly Series lifer. His personality, in a lot of ways, helps in a lack of personality Cup Series filled field. It stands out differently, and so therefore the value is there for that. And understandably, in some ways I don't understand how some of these people get the backing that they get from the sponsors. But then also the other factor is, hey, he's got a great amount of sponsorship to back him, to keep him in that car. His affiliation with said sponsors is still pretty solid. And so therefore it's enough to keep him in a Cup Series ride. At least for a short amount of time. Based off of talent alone, I don't think he's good enough. I just don't. But at the same time, you could also say that about a good amount of other people as well that have gotten opportunities in the Cup Series and still do. I don't think John Hunter deserves to be in the 42 car based off of talent alone. He is a mistake-prone kid in a lot of ways who, if you watch, there's not a lot of people that seemingly like him, and it's not discussed because he's just quiet. And he's also not competing for victories. He's not competing for top 5s or top 10s very often, if at all. And so it's not discussed how much of a problem on track he is. Gregson, you don't really think when you think of Gregson, you don't think of clean racer. You don't think of smart guy. You think of, honestly, big dumb goof who's funny. And his best years were the O'Reilly Series. And that's fine for front row. Should they have probably taken the opportunity to move on from Gregson and give somebody like Elaine Riggs an opportunity? Yeah, probably. And as far as I know, Lane is still going to be in the Truck Series next year. And so they'll still have another chance in 2028 to do that. But when Gregson goes and does stuff like this, if I can find it here, where he's having on-track fits remember when he had that on-track fit with, what's his name? Kevin Magnussen. When Magnussen was in that 91, Project 91 car, and they were having their back and forth. And I can't lie, like, Magnussen mogged the shit out of him and just made him look kind of ridiculous. Get mad over small stuff. And honestly, at the end of the day, Gragson was doing some pretty dumb shit on the track. But when you're fighting for your job and you're fighting for an opportunity to, you know, stay at your ride, you would think that something like this is not something you'd want to have everybody talking about you with. This was from a few weeks ago in Indianapolis, between Noah Gragson and Connor Zilisch. Now, I want to go ahead and ask this as well. Does anybody know of Connor being this extremely annoyingly over-the-top, aggressive, or dirty driver in any way, shape, or form? No. No, he isn't. And so to get extremely annoyed at anybody for blocking or whatever, I don't think that Connor Zilisch is the number one guy you'd go to pick on. But yet, Gragson chose, for some reason, to pick on Connor Zilisch, of all people. So let's see if I can set this up correctly here.
Motherfucker!
So he's already mad there, which obviously I feel like is obviously due with the fact that he's 33rd and he can't get off the corner. Like if you listen to that clip right here, he had to get out of the gas coming out of the corner. So obviously the thing's either loose as shit or tight as shit. So it won't turn the way he wants to. And then obviously he subsequently says,
Motherfucker!
So he's obviously pissed. And this right here, how is this a block? I don't care how mad you are about how bad you're running on lap 41 of 160. How is this a block? So Connor comes up the track to get in line, and he does one of two things here, okay? He is either shading back to the middle of the track to either A, hold the inside line as they head towards turn 3, or 2, he's actually trying to get out of Noah's way, who has more momentum. He feeds down, he's already down there, and then for some reason, instead of, by the way, he has so much more speed than Connor at this point. Look at this. He catches him so quickly. Look at this. Right there, he caught him so fast. By the time they get to turn 3, he's going by him. If he even stayed next to the wall and just went on the outside, he would have passed Connor easily. Instead, he follows him to the bottom of the, like the middle of the track. Connor almost looks like he's trying to go away from Noah to get towards like the grass or like the apron or something to get out of his way. And instead, he just drives right into the back of him and does it again.
333.2, closing inside.
What exactly is the reason for that? Now, I don't know if that was for position, but even if it wasn't for position, he lost a spot on track.
5 stop there.
This is under caution, by the way, if you can't tell by the top right.
Gonna have 5 in the middle of the short chute.
What is he doing? What is that? Why are you hitting somebody who obviously tried to get out of your way? And then you're going to come up here and watch, do it again? Or he's going to probably flip him off.
Gonna have safety right in the middle, stay top here.
What exactly is the reason for this?
So this fucking prick in the 88. Quit fucking blocking.
How is that a block? I don't care how fucking blind and dumb you are. How is that a block?
10-4, I see it. Big picture here, Brent.
And they can't tell him. Okay, so it's for position. By the way, again, wasn't a block. He wasn't blocking him.
All right, get the 40 or inside here.
Yep,
Watch
that's
yourself,
nice.
watch
Put him in the
yourself,
wall.
Watch yourself.
Under
Don't play
caution.
games with him. Just let him mind his own business. I got the 5 sitting in the middle racetrack here.
Yep,
Just stay
and
on
puts his
it.
fan. Yep, and flips him off. Exactly what I thought.
I'm not
He
the
did.
one running into him.
Yeah,
Oh, I know. Don't play in his games here. Just stay high and go slow here. Boots on the ground.
what exactly? And there are people that defend this guy in ways that I just don't understand. I just don't understand it. I never will understand it. How there are people that will sit there and stomp their feet for this guy when that's the shit that you get. And here's the thing. In other instances where people are actually blocking, say it's a Carson Hocevar deal, and Carson's out there blocking as hard as he fucking can for 32nd. By the way, this is for 32nd place. This ain't for a top 10. This ain't for a top 15 or a top 20 even. This is for 32nd. And as everybody subsequently in the comments, Gregson, try not to throw a tantrum for 33rd challenge, impossible. This is embarrassing, LOL. Dude has zero racecraft, cost himself a spot by choosing to hit the 88 twice. Complaining about the 88 blocking as if the slow fucking idiot in the 4 is ever going to be fast enough to pass anyone. What the fuck is Gregson doing? 88 pulled off pit road and Gregson immediately goes for blood. He didn't even pull in front of Gregson either. Gregson just ran him down and started hitting him. All extremely good, fair points. Because it's just correct. That makes no sense to me why he would do that. And again, this is all leading up to him getting re-signed. So you have to add, like, front row must just hope that the improvement comes next year. And again, I understand that front row, like I said, we put too high expectations on some of these teams because we as fans, again, are sold by NASCAR that all these cup teams are on a level playing field and everybody has the same thing and everybody has the same parts and pieces and therefore everybody should just be expected of the same. But the truth is that that's not true. It doesn't matter that everybody gets the same parts and pieces. There are still advantages that the HMSs and the JGRs and the Penske's that they get over everybody else because of the OEMs. And because of the relationship that they have with Chevy, Ford, and Toyota that other teams don't have. So I understand that the expectations aren't high for front row, but at the same time, if you are front row motorsports, what is your goal? What is your goal every week? Your goal is to try to get the best finish that you possibly can. If you can be in a position to win, great. But obviously it's about consistency and bringing the car home clean. That's the goal. When you are a lower end team like that, who obviously hasn't had the best equipment and obviously doesn't run very well this year, and obviously, even though you've seen small improvements by a Zane Smith or a Todd Gilliland every now and then, the expectations aren't still very high. You're not expecting this team to be competing for top 10, top 5 in the chase. Your expectation is just bring the fucking thing home clean and try your best to get as best of a finish as you can. Hopefully we show up with a good setup that'll give us some race-winning speed or some top 5 or top 10 speed. And if not, just try to bring the thing home clean. That is the opposite of what that is. And this is not a brand new thing. As I said, Gregson fighting with Kevin Magnussen. Screwed himself up more at that San Diego race than if he had just let it go and tried to keep the car clean. But instead, he was more focused on getting back at him and trying to fight back against him. For what? A guy who's not going to be there next week and will probably never race in the Cup Series again? Made himself look like a fool. And this is the same thing. This is just stupidity. How on God's green earth, I don't care how blinded by rage and anger you are over how bad the car is, throwing it at somebody who has almost nothing to do with you, who is like the most innocent kid on the track, who is just as bad as you are, throwing shade at him, flipping him off, hitting him under caution, intentionally making yourself lose a spot on track by following him down the backstretch and rear-ending him on purpose. How do you as a team owner, how does Bob Jenkins as the team owner of Front Row Motorsports not look at that and go, why are we keeping this guy? That's the thing to me that's the most confusing thing about why they resigned Noah. It's not the bad finishes. It's not the fact that they've had extremely terrible speed. It's not the fact that he's consistently 30th or worse. It has nothing to do with that. It is things like this. Because if his attitude was positive, if he was showing up to the track, keeping the car clean, as I said, and therefore trying to get as best of a finish as he can, and if the things that he was involved in were not his fault, were not antagonized by him, and he was just trying his best to keep the car clean, like I said, and get to the fucking finish, because we haven't had the car that we've needed this entire season, and so therefore we're just going to try to do as best we can by keeping the car clean. If he just did that, then giving him another year would make sense. But under the circumstances of him going out there and doing stupid ass shit like that, re-signing him for another year with a possibility of it being a 2-year extension, to me makes zero sense. On top of the fact that, again, it's not even like, oh, we don't have anybody waiting in the wings in our developmental system in the truck series that could possibly do better in one of our cars. We don't have that. Yes, you do. I would much rather take a chance on Elaine Riggs than keep giving Noah Gragson an opportunity. And so therefore it has to simply come down to money. It's the same thing as Dean Thompson. Why is Dean Thompson getting this opportunity? Well, it definitely ain't finishing. It definitely probably isn't how well he's liked on track or his ability on track. It's funding. That's all it is. And that's all it is with Noah. It's the fact that he has the sponsors sitting behind him who are willing to pay for a couple of extra races that probably Lane Riggs doesn't have. But then again, that's not a new story. That's something that's been happening for as long as I've been alive. It's been happening forever. And it will continue to happen. And I can sit here and I can rant about this all I want, but it doesn't change anything. All I can say is it will be hilarious next year to watch as Noah Gragson does the same goddamn thing he's done this year. Run 30th to 36th every week, besides a random ass super speedway race or something along that, where he'll randomly have some speed where he'll finish top 15 or something like that, or get a random top 10. But besides those random occurrences, there will be no consistent speed. There will be no consistent anything from him. You will get the same thing you got this year, next year. And as long as they're fine with that, well then good on them. We always need somebody to laugh at every weekend anyways. It can't always be Cody Ware. Speaking of somebody to laugh at, I wanted to pull this up. As far as somebody to laugh at, let's see if I can get this dang thing to play. Why is it not playing? I guess we'll have to go out of incognito to see it. So, long story short, there were a couple of clips that I wanted to play that I have not gotten a chance to play yet because I was not around. I'm going to try to scroll through here quick and find all these things that I wanted to play, but I can't find now. Here's a clip. This was from Iowa. If we wanted to discuss anything from Iowa. This is from Kyle Petty after the Iowa race when Ty Gibbs won. We'll get to Ty Gibbs in a second. Here is Kyle Petty talking about Christopher Bell once again coming up short. We'll go ahead and pull this right here. This is Kyle Petty once again talking about Christopher Bell coming up short at Iowa to Ty Gibbs.
This is what you call a bad second place finish for sure.
When's he going to pass a leader? That's my point. When's he going to? He runs them down. We've seen him run them down in multiple races.
Is that Bell underperforming or Gibbs overperforming?
Bell underperforming. He's gotten beaten by Blaney twice, Suarez once, and Heim once.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. So the instances that he just said about Christopher Bell, I like Kyle. I like Kyle Petty. I do. There's a lot of things that he talks about that I agree with. I have never seen him be, maybe not, I should take that back, but he is so wrong about this. Like, this is trying to paint something that isn't there and trying to avoid what is actually the problem with this. Listen to him say this. So just watch this again.
Bell underperforming. He's gotten beaten by Blaney twice.
So he got beat by Blaney at a super speedway-esque race at Atlanta where it's just drafting. So, okay, he got beat at a drafting track. Okay, where else did he get beat?
Suarez once.
Wait, is that not the stupid Charlotte race that was rain shortened? So it didn't go the full distance. And by the way, it was all strategy as to why Suarez was even in that position. Okay.
And Heim once.
And Heim, who he caught Heim at Indy. And this is exactly the same reason why he got beat at Iowa. Because it's the way the cars are designed. It is the dirty air that has existed in this next-gen car forever. And once again, it was much more exasperated at Indy. And by the way, everybody talked about how shitty of a race Indy was for that exact reason. No one liked Indianapolis because of the simple fact that everybody got in a line and no one could pass. And everybody knew that that was going to happen. And everybody was expecting it. And yet, even though everyone expected it, it was still worse than what we expected. Okay? And then Iowa, it's the same thing. I don't have enough speed. I don't have enough tire wear. I don't have enough of anything to make it matter once I catch him. Let's hear Kyle explain this even more.
He makes a move with 15, 20 laps to go, and even you guys in the booth said he's going to have one more shot. He duplicated the shot he had before. If you go the well and it's dry, don't go back to that same move. It's not going to work, man. I hate to say that because I think he's.
You want to know why? You want to know why he did that same move? Is because he had no other move. He couldn't do anything else. You want him to go to a fucking spot that he knows isn't going to work and is going to fail? No, he's going to try to do the same thing that he knows works. He's going to go to the outside because he knows that's the only way he can generate enough of a run to pass him. If he sits on the inside, he's just going to be stuck down there. And he's going to have to force Ty Gibbs out of the way. And for some reason, and I think honestly, mostly it's the fact that his last name is Gibbs, number one. Number two, it's teammates. Like, you're not going to do that to him. If it's anybody else, the expectation is you do that to them. But it's a teammate, and so therefore you don't want to take the chance of moving a teammate, having it end up disastrously where he ends up not saving the car or you hit him too hard and then either you spin him out and crash him or you spin the both of you out and you crash each other and make yourselves look like fools. In the chase system, you are willing to accept a second place finish in that instance, knowing that, hey, I much rather want to actually try to get the win, obviously, but at the same time, I have no other chance. I have no other move. These cars don't allow at most racetracks for you to be able to easily pass somebody. This next-gen car is not designed for that. And so then when somebody has all the run in the world, has all this fresher tire, everything like that, I'm not saying it's every time. But sometimes people are the better car, better driver, better setup, better everything, catch the leader and can't pass him because of just the way these cars are designed and the dirty air and everything that we have been shouting for years when it comes to especially the Cup Series.
Car driver. But how many times can Adam put him in a place to win races and you leave the win on the table?
I don't know. I don't buy into that philosophy that he is dropping the ball. I think he is in positions to win. And I understand that there's this idea that, oh, he comes up short and so therefore he's dropping the ball. It's like, no. It's not always just him dropping the ball. That's not always it. Not saying he's a perfect driver, but it's, again, that's not always what it is. I wanted to also touch on this. Speaking of Iowa, let's talk about Ty Gibbs really quick. There was a, let's see here. This came out. This guy went off on Ty Gibbs. Let's go ahead and look at this really quick. This guy went off on Ty Gibbs for the terrible interview that he supposedly gave. A lot of people said that it was only 7 minutes long. Usually it's like double that after a guy wins. And people were not happy with, the fact that, always, didn't show a lot of respect. Therefore, didn't have a lot of great answers or whatever. This is what this guy had to say. Supposedly, I don't know if he was actually in the room or what, but this official Speed Freaks Instagram account went off on Ty Gibbs. So let's listen to this.
And we bust our ass to cover this sport, and when we're not treated decent human beings, trying to ask questions, trying to fill up a tape for a college radio station or a small newspaper in Iowa, and you give us those kind of answers? Get out of here, man. That's your NASCAR Cup Series champion? That's crap. It's garbage. I guarantee his grandfather's going, oh, my God. I can promise you they tried to get this guy media training. But no, that's what you get. Someone needs to straighten this little man up or get him the hell out of here. Because he's going to represent your freaking sport, Freak Nation, for 20 years with that freaking attitude.
Week to week for me, but, obviously want to win the title.
Okay, well, I don't know what happened exactly in the interview room that made it that big of a deal. But look, as far as the Ty Gibbs thing, I can understand how some people would say, hey, he's not the greatest talker. A lot of times in interviews, he's kind of short and, he's kind of an odd dude in retrospect. And he's not very likable. I mean, number one, he's not been likable for a while. This isn't exactly new with him. But also at the same time, I think people need to realize the environment that Ty has been in, assumingly, I'm not there, I'm not his friend, I'm not interacting with him. Assumingly, Ty, as I've said in the past, he has probably been told his entire life by the people surrounding him that he's the best. He's amazing. No matter what he does, he's very good. Blah, 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 blah. All this other stuff. And I'm not even saying that it was his parents that said this or his grandparent. I'm not even saying that those are the people. I'm saying it's the people around him that are influencing him as friends or peers or people that want to be in the good graces of him and want to be close to him and want to be his friend, knowing that no matter what happens, he's going to be in a good spot. No matter what happens, he's going to go to high places. It doesn't matter if he's any good at whatever he chooses to do or whatever. It doesn't matter. The truth is that he's going to be put in a good spot because of the simple fact that he's got enough money behind him. He's got enough power and influence behind him that it doesn't matter. He's going to be, eventually, if he chooses to race, he's going to be a NASCAR Cup Series driver at some point. And he's going to be there as long as he wants to be there. His name's on the frickin' building. He will be there as long as he wants to be there. And when all you have been surrounded by with your friends and your peers and so on and so forth, people that want to be close to you and want to be friends with you, because then they see, if I'm friends with him, when he gets to that level, I can take advantage of that. When you're fed that info and you're told that your whole life, you feel above a lot of people. I'm not sitting here saying, you know, with all of his belief in God and stuff that he believes he's God, but it is that kind of God complex to a degree of like, yeah, I am above these people. I am above doing this. I'm above doing that. I'm above saying this. I'm above saying that. I don't need to do this or that. And that, of course, is going to bleed into a post-race interview after you just won, and you're probably thinking to yourself after you won a race, the last thing you want to do is go talk to people, again, that you probably don't respect, because let's be honest, how many of these quote-unquote journalists are real journalists and really actually ask good, hard-hitting questions and are actually credible? Or how many of them are honestly just people that beg for a pit pass so then they can feel like they're on the inside? It's probably the latter. Because, I mean, how many of those people are not even asking questions? They're just making statements so that they can say to the driver, I'm on your side. And so then, therefore, they can, again, turn around to all of their insular friends that are not on the in and say, I'm close with so-and-so because him and I get along and I get to interview him whenever. And then, therefore, you feel cool. So, and that is probably most of what that post-race interview room is, you're not going to take those people very seriously. You're not going to sit there and actually take X question from X person and from bumblefuck nowhere, from insert website name here that really isn't real and is just a placeholder for their fake website. Again, so then they can feel important or whatever. When you don't take those people seriously and they don't really even do anything that's very serious, you're not going to take the time to take them seriously and give them good answers. And so the idea that a guy like Ty, who already has that idea in his head probably of, I'm above these people, I'm above this, I'm above that, for him to then look across the room at a bunch of people that are halfway reporters, if they could even call themselves reporters at all, you're not going to take them too seriously. You're not going to care. And this is the other thing too, Ty has never been a good interview. He's never been somebody that, oh man, he was a great talker. He was a great interview when he was in the O'Reilly series or whatever, or when he first got into Cup. Like, no, this isn't new. He's been the same dude he's been forever. Let's be honest. We all know and understand the guy is a selfish little kid, deep down, who doesn't care about anybody else, who cares about himself and his own personal success, and that's it. And he's going to use anyone around him to get what he wants. We've known this for how long? It was revealed in the whole NASCAR stuff between Chris Gabehart and JGR, which, by the way, I don't know if that's fully concluded now, but that basically came out and said, yeah, we're just, I don't even know if they're still suing Gabehart, but there was something that came out about Gabehart. JGR is not suing a part of some person who's with Gabehart anymore because of some enlightening news or whatever. But in that little spiel, X amount of months ago, earlier in the season, it came out that, yeah, Ty Gibbs is showing up late to drivers' meetings and he doesn't take things too seriously and he's not putting in enough effort compared to the other guys and he gets superficial treatment compared to other drivers and he kind of has his own thing going on. This is already known. And this is going to continue forever. Ty's not going to change. I truly don't believe that. Even if, say, the instance comes where he pulls a Dale Jr. and there's some falling out between him and his grandfather, or there's some falling out between him and his family, and he doesn't race for JGR anymore and he goes races for RCR, or he goes and races for Penske, or he goes and races for Legacy Motor Club, or whomever. He goes and races for some other team. He's not going to change as a person. He's still going to be the same guy. He's still going to go to whichever team that he goes to and is going to expect the same treatment. He's going to expect the same things that he got previously at JGR. And when he doesn't get it, he's going to throw his tantrums. And he's going to become more of a problem on the surface. He hasn't been much of a problem on the surface, partially because now he's finally running well, but also at the same time, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just doesn't find it worth his time to be outward about things. Because again, he believes that it's just beneath him. He didn't address the Gabehart thing until he finally started to run well, but the minute he started to run well, he immediately took a pot shot at Chris. So again, at the same time, when it comes to Ty Gibbs and all this, like, brother, there's no point in yelling. There's no point in getting mad about it. There's no point in getting frazzling yourself. It's a great clip. It's funny to listen to. But beyond that, like, he's not changing. It's the same. He's going to be the same guy he has always been, and he always will be. Speaking of people who probably won't change, let's talk about Kyle Larson for a second. I know that last night, the big thing that everyone was talking about was Kyle Larson was, like I said earlier, or I mentioned it earlier, that he raced at Richmond, finished 6th at Richmond, and because of the rain delays or whatever at some dirt track race that he did last night, he ended up showing up and winning because he was on the pole and whatever, and he's a very good dirt racer. There was something that happened a while ago. I wanted to play this clip because it was kind of funny. Between Kyle Larson and, what is this guy's name? What is this guy's name? It's not even showing it on the clip. Some guy by the name of Timms. I don't know. He's some dirt track racer. But there was this clip. Hang on. We're going to play it really quick. This is kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
Went into 3 there. I knew I was screwing up. I figured, he might be gaining on me, and I just kept doing what I did every lap. And
look at that slide job.
I seen him coming up. Initially, I was going to try and drive around it, and I realized he wasn't giving me any room. And I lifted, slammed on the brakes, tried to turn it, and he still just ran right over me. So he's a piece of shit, but it is what it is. I'll remember it, and that's that.
He's a piece of shit, and it is what it is. Well,
yeah,
what did Kyle say?
He was nervous and wanted to, and started making mistakes and allow me to build runs, and it was just strung out, so you got to get going. So I'm sure that wasn't the cleanest move. I'm sure if anybody's followed his career, we've seen him make a lot of mistakes as well. So his car owner's upset at me, which is fine, but at least get my race right. I'm not Chinese, I'm Japanese. Yeah, he was getting
okay, well, it is kind of funny. There was another clip I had, I swear. I'll find it here in a second, but that was a while ago. There was another one I saw. Damn it, where's this other clip from that? I'm going to find it. I swear I'm going to find it. Maybe it's on... Yeah, here it is. It's on my Instagram. Here's another clip here. I don't know if this is even worth playing, but we'll go ahead and play this here. All right. Yep. All right, not really worth playing, but whatever. That was the other main clip I saw pop up. And obviously, the interviews back and forth. Listen, I don't think that It's so easy to take. Kyle Larson is the easiest person to just take shots at because of the whole "can you hear me" thing. I don't have it anymore, I don't think. But there was a clip I saw on Instagram. I should have saved it, and I wish I did. Some lady was talking about that back and forth between Larson and that Tim's guy, or the Tim's owner or whatever. There was some back and forth on that while that was going on. And the person tried to say something to the degree of like, Kyle should have never said the N-word, but he wasn't directing it at anybody. That car owner was directing it at Kyle Larson in like a derogatory way. It's like, brother, how fucking dumb do you gotta be? Like, he's literally talking to somebody and calling them the N-word. Like, he's not just saying the N-word out loud. He is directly saying, hey, N-word, can you hear me? As into purposefully, and like, I'm directing it at you. You person, insert name here, I am saying N-word, can you hear me? Like, I heard that, and God, I wish I saved that so I could put this fucking person on blast. And it's probably somewhere on Instagram, and it's somewhere that I can't find anymore because it happened how long ago now. But, oh man, I wish I still had that clip. But it was hilarious to see that. But like, I don't know. I don't hate Larson. To me, my annoyance with Larson isn't even so much with him. Part of it is with him. I will say this. It's the same thing as everybody else in NASCAR, seemingly, not just the Cup Series, but in NASCAR in general. It's the hypocrisy across the board. It is the consistent, I will do something stupid, and then I will just kind of throw my hands up and go, whatever, I made a mistake, my bad. And then somebody else makes that same type of mistake, and I will lambaste them and bash them to no end, and make them seem as though they suck and they're terrible, and anybody else who will hear me talk about them will know how much I think that they're bad. And it's not even like, oh, you're just saying that because he bashes Carson Hocevar. It is not just Carson Hocevar. He bashed Ross Chastain about the Martinsville move that he made and thought, oh, we shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Meanwhile, he does the same kind of shit. I don't know if it was the same year or the year before or the next year or whatever at Darlington against Denny Hamlin. Like, he's doing the same exact thing, but yet he'll bash somebody else for doing that. And Larson, again, same thing here. He'll bash somebody else for making a stupid move. Oh, he's not exactly the cleanest guy. Therefore, it justifies you making a stupid-ass dive bomb and just driving his nose off the front. Like, take responsibility, I guess, maybe. And granted, I'm not the biggest dirt fan. I'm not watching World of Outlaws stuff every week. I'm not watching sprint car racing every week. I don't have a Flow TV subscription. Maybe I should. Maybe it doesn't matter. So, but I'm not watching these races every week, and I don't know if that is categorically a dirty move in dirt racing, or if it's not. To me, at the end of the day, I didn't think the move was that big of a deal. Just from my personal opinion. Yeah, I mean, it kind of roughed up the guy, the Tim's guy or whatever, and he can be mad about that, but it didn't ultimately end his race. And, again, somebody else even kind of posted a clip saying that somebody should show Tim's this as far as how to, avoid that better or something like that. And yeah, at the end of the day, he probably could have avoided that a little bit better. He probably could have got on the brakes a little bit harder, a little bit earlier. Also, by the way, they don't have spotters in sprint car racing, so he probably didn't know that was coming and probably didn't see it until way too late. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is what Kyle Larson is. This is what Kyle Larson does. I think that in all honesty, Kyle's career, people early on made the comparisons. He's going to be the next Jeff Gordon. He's going to be the next this guy, that guy, whatever. Everybody just blew a whole shit ton of smoke up his ass and made him probably feel like he's going to be the greatest thing that's ever graced NASCAR. But I think, honestly, Larson should be known as somebody who is the best guy who I've seen make more mistakes than anybody else. Like, he is at the same time, he is the best and also the worst. because he is extremely talented and he can find speed out of anything. And there is no denying the fact that when push comes to shove, he is one of, if not the best guys in the NASCAR Cup Series field right now. Okay? Depends on the week. Some people might say Hamlin's better than him right now or whatever. I would venture to think that, hey, JGR as a whole is way better this year. So I'm not going to go based off of just this season. I'm going to go based off of, the last how many years and what I know, who's really talented and who's not, and who's just on a roll and who's not. But I'm not going to also sit here and say that Kyle Larson's the best, because he's this, you can't be the best and make more mistakes than like anybody else. I mean, this is the same dude who, no matter how much speed he has, I don't care if it's like, oh, he's trying to get more speed out of the car. Brother, if you're that good, you should know where the line is on how far you can push the car. Like, he's the same guy who is self-spinning, and he's the same guy who is wrecking going onto pit road because you remember the, I don't know if it was Phoenix or Homestead or whatever it was. There was I think it was Homestead. There was some late race pit stop where Blaney was out in front of Larson, and Larson tried to judge and tried to gain all this time back on the entry to pit road on Blaney, and he overshot it so much that he ended up locking up the fronts and driving himself into the dirt barrels at the front end of pit road and just ended his race because, again, he drives over his head. And you can't be the best, and you can't be considered like, oh my God, he's like a god of racing or whatever. You can't be put on this pedestal if you fuck up so much. You can't fuck up all the time and be, oh, he's just the best. He's just better than everybody else. But he fucks up all the time. Well, that doesn't matter because we put him on this pedestal. Like, that doesn't count. That just doesn't count. He's not the best. He's not this god of racing. He's not top. He's just not. He's very good. He is very talented. He is probably one of the best that's in the field right now, but he's not. Don't put him on this Mount Rushmore pedestal. Don't do that. And stop trying to sell us that he's the best racer in motorsports right now, because he's not. He's just not. I get it. We live in this echo chamber of anything that's in NASCAR is the best, and F1 be damned, and IndyCar be damned, and any other form of racing be damned. You can the Kevin Harvicks of the world going out there talking about, oh, if you put Larson in anything, he'd thrive. You could put him in an open wheel car and give him enough time, he'll figure it out. Oh yeah, is that why he flunked out in 2 Indy 500s? Which, by the way, is an oval. You know what I mean? The type of racing that NASCAR always is. Flunked out if you put him in F1, he would get destroyed. He would get destroyed. If you put him on IndyCar and road courses, he'd get destroyed. Let's put it this way. SVG walked into NASCAR and right off the rip destroyed everyone on road courses 10, 15, 20 seconds over second place. You can't allow somebody to walk into your sport, destroy you in your home turf, not even making it a competition, and expect people to sit here and go, but you're still the best. If you can't even hack it and be better than everybody else that ever tries to come into your home turf, just stop. Just stop. You're not the best. You're just not. I mean, this year he's been mightily struggling. Chase Elliott's better than him. Chase Elliott's been better than him. He's the one locked in. Out of all the HMS guys, out of all the other HMS guys, all 4 JGR cars are locked into the chase. Only one HMS guy is locked into the chase right now, and it's Chase Elliott. It ain't Kyle. It ain't the guy you think. Anyways, let's back off of that for a second. I wanted to try to get this done quicker than I am, but I just got too much stuff to talk about. Let's jump to the NASCAR schedule. The NASCAR schedule came out. And here are let's go ahead and pull this up here quick. Here are the official Cup Series races that have been announced. Obviously, the announcement of the Clash is back at Daytona. Thank God. Thank you very much. Another thing I wanted to talk about quickly on that was, there's some podcasts I found on Instagram that I don't hate them. I think they're it's like a kind of cute podcast. Like they're not like me out here shouting and saying fuck and, being too vulgar. They're more of like a cutesy little podcast. There's just two women that do a podcast. And one of the women said, her hot take was that she thought the Clash at Bowman Gray, not even the Coliseum, the Clash at Bowman Gray did more for NASCAR than like any other race is more popular than the Daytona 500 or like some weird thing like that. Like just a doesn't make any sense quote or opinion on anything. But I'm happy though that we went away from the Bowman Gray Clash. I'm happy that we went away from the Coliseum race for the Clash. Just bring it back to Daytona. That's where it should have always been. People will say, "Oh, you don't get the good racing there." Brother, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There's some things where it's like it's tradition. And instead of just trying to do stupid things that don't make any sense in the name of trying to be more entertaining, and then they always end up not being more entertaining, that doesn't make any sense. And that's not the move. So bringing the Clash back to Daytona was the move, period. Obviously the 500 Atlanta, back at Coda. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not going to lie. I wish we just weren't going to Coda anymore. But Phoenix, Vegas, Darlington, Bristol, Martinsville, Talladega, Texas. Dover is back to being a points race. Thank God. They learned extremely quickly that it should have been an all-star race. All-star races at North Wilkesboro. Now, I really, really, really wish that wasn't the case. A lot of people are seemingly happy that North Wilkesboro is back into being an all-star race. I'm not. I feel as though Wilkesboro is again one of those races that I understand that, people get a lap down so fast and it's not really competitive, blah, blah, blah. It shouldn't be an all-star race. Honestly, the all-star race should just be at Charlotte. That's where it's been for how many years, that's where it should be. It's where all the best all-star racing was. And the thing is if you wanted to say, hey, we're going to make the all-star race a rotation, I'm okay with that. I will accept that. But if the idea is that we're just going to make Wilkesboro an all-star race going forward, and that will be the all-star race for the next couple of years or so, that's not the move either. I would say, fine, okay, Wilkesboro is back into being an all-star race this year, but next year it can be Iowa, it can be Bristol, it could be Atlanta, it could be Richmond, it could be like something in that East Coast-esque near the North Carolina area. Honestly, that is probably what it should be. Is pick a new track every year for the All-Star race and just keep that as a rotation. Keep the Clash the same every year, make it Daytona, but the All-Star race can be a rotation. I mean, All-Star games, if you want to make the comparison to stick and ball sports, All-Star games are rotations every year. Baseball's All-Star game is in a new stadium every year. They pick a new city to go to. So having the idea of making the All-Star race in a different track every year is not a bad idea. Obviously, Charlotte, no surprise there. Iowa, glad to see that back. For July 4th weekend, makes me almost think that I want to go see that. I'm not going to lie. Atlanta, Bristol, St. Louis, Daytona, Darlington, Richmond, Watkins Glen is now in September. New Hampshire, Vegas, Phoenix, Talladega, and Martinsville. So not all of the events are announced. Obviously, one of the ones that's missing is Homestead. right off the top of my head. Homestead isn't here, which I expect to be like the last race of the season, to be quite honest. I don't think November 7th is the last. I think that's like the second to last. I think it goes to November. It would be November 14th, I think, would be the actual last race. Because I think they said Richmond kicks off the chase. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, there's a few in there that are missing if Richmond kicks off the chase. As the first race of the chase, there's 4 races that are missing. So Homestead's obviously one I didn't see in there. The other one that I did not see, that I cannot lie, I am wildly disappointed by, is this. I saw this come out a couple days ago. Rockingham not returning to the NASCAR schedule in 2027. I'm going to go ahead and read through this very quickly. It's not very long, but I'll try to read through this as quickly as I can. After 2 highly successful seasons that helped reestablish one of stock car racing's most historic venues, Track Enterprises has announced that it will not host any NASCAR-sanctioned competition at Rockingham Speedway during the 2027 season. The decision comes amid overall uncertainty at the facility. Track Enterprises remains committed to exploring opportunities that could bring racing back to the Rock in future seasons. Track Enterprises proudly partnered with NASCAR to return National Touring Series competition to Rockingham Speedway in 25, marking the first NASCAR National Series races at the historic oval in more than a decade. The return proved to be an overwhelming success as enthusiastic fans packed the grandstands throughout Easter weekend, creating blah, blah, blah. Okay, we don't need to know all this. We get it. Quote, "The response from the fans over the past 2 years has been nothing short of incredible," said Track Enterprises President Bob Sargent. Bringing NASCAR back to Rockingham was a special opportunity, and the support we received from fans, competitors, sponsors, local officials, and the entire community exceeded every expectation. While we're disappointed that NASCAR won't be racing in Rockingham in 27, we remain optimistic, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, I don't need all of that. Produced outstanding racing of 25. Race organizers would like to extend their sincere. Yeah, okay. Okay, not a whole lot of nothing in that. I tried to find out some more stuff as to why. The main thing I saw was concerns about funding, in the sense that not NASCAR, but I think other outside sources were not getting paid or something like that. I think it overall comes down to the fact that NASCAR doesn't own Rockingham. And so because of that, NASCAR is not getting as big of a piece of the pie or whatever when they go to Rockingham. Even though, in my eyes, if you wanted to put on the best possible races that you possibly could with the Cup Series, with the way that this car handles at other tracks that are somewhat similar to Rockingham, I cannot imagine how good the racing would be at Rockingham with the next-gen car. And it's wildly disappointing that because of the fact that NASCAR does not own Rockingham and they can't work out a deal to go there and race there, that they're not going to do it next year. And instead we're going to fill it up with other stupid stuff that doesn't make sense. It's stuff like this is why, like, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be going back to. And it's not an old head, old man screams at clouds kind of thing. This is just a fact. Like, the racing at Rockingham was good. As it's stated in this article, it was a great, overwhelming success. And I totally believe that. And it is so annoying to me that we got something good cooking. We're going to go back to Rockingham. Great racing with the Truck and O'Reilly series. And we're just going to drop it. We're just going to drop it. For what? Another race in San Diego? Another race in Chicago again on the street courses? The same thing that we did where we literally came out and said, yeah, we actually probably lost money on that. And or if anything, we broke even and we didn't do very well. But of course, the city wants it, so therefore we're going to go back and do it again. That's the other thing about this schedule. The other thing you didn't notice, where's Chicagoland? Chicagoland isn't on here yet. It's not announced. Even though Chicagoland was a sold-out crowd. Chicagoland was sold out this year for the 4th of July race. I believe it was 4th of July. Even though there were people weeks before, a month before going, oh, we don't know about this. There's a lot of open seats or whatever. Like, come on, man. At the end of the day, those are good races. Chicagoland, Rockingham, those are very, very, very good races that we should have. That we shouldn't run from. And it's wildly disappointing that we're going to leave that off the schedule. For what? Now, maybe there's a chance that Chicagoland is still on the schedule and they just instead add 2 races to Chicago, but it is so... Sorry, I'm doing something right now. At the same time, somebody texted me and I needed to respond to that. It is just so wildly frustrating that, okay, we're going to try to do the old things that we used to do. We do them. They turn out to be great successes, and then we just run away from them. For what reason? No reason. No reason at all. At least no good reason. And this is what you get. You get more gimmicky shit that doesn't make sense and that turns more people than brings people in. Anyways, we'll wait for the official schedule to fully come out. And we'll do more of a deep dive into that when that does happen. What else did I want to talk about? I can talk about the host of our stuff now, but I don't really feel like that's worth time to dive into right now. That is just going to take me an hour. It's going to take me an hour to talk about that. I might do a whole different thing on that. I might do a whole different show or a whole different side thing talking about the Carson host of our thing. For anybody who's wondering what I'm talking about, how long ago during like the off week, host of our dived into, he watched some old Talladega race and talked about how compared to back then, we're on a ventilator or whatever, which he's not wrong, but I'm not going to dive into that now. I will save that for later. I'll also save some other stuff like the Legacy Motor Club added a whole bunch of owners to some owners group and the talk about shorter races. I think I will save that for another episode later on. We have done an hour and a half. And so I might just do who knows? I might just do a whole nother show talking about that later this week. Because I am going to do another show later this week. So I actually might do that. I might, when I do my show again, getting ready for New Hampshire this next weekend, I will probably talk about some of that stuff if it's a slow news week throughout the week. I've covered a lot of stuff here in this hour and a half, so I feel like I'm kind of catching up here. Also, I'm trying to do more stuff with the video. I did actually try during some of the weeks that I was not doing a podcast here. I did try to set up a camera versus just having the still image up. But I didn't like it. I don't have a good enough camera and I don't have a good enough background to do that. I feel as though I would want, funny enough, I would want more people on here doing it so that it didn't look so weird. You know what I mean? Like I would want, because so anybody who doesn't know, if we're getting very into the weeds here, pretty late into the podcast. I did, and I don't know if it's coming back. It should, but it's on somebody else's hands to actually do it again. I did a college football show podcast last football season with a couple of buddies of mine, and I had a lot of fun, really enjoyed it, and I had my camera on. So, but the difference between doing a solo show and having your camera fill up the whole screen versus just you filling up a third of it is the fact that, like, if I were to do a camera, I'm gonna want to fill it the whole screen. I'm gonna want the camera to fill the whole screen, and I want you to see the whole background, because if it's just my face and it's just like a small thing, like, it just doesn't look good. Plus, I've seen other people in the past like do green screen backgrounds and like do it, but it looks hokey to me. I just don't like how it looks. And so I tried to like play with some stuff during these last couple weeks where I was off, and I really did try to actually find myself a decent setup in my place. And I have a good spot in the place I'm staying, but like there's a decent corner that's fine, and I can maybe have it well lit, but I just tried so many different things, and everything I did I just didn't like. And I don't know if a lot of it had to do with my camera. It's also the fact that I don't have a lot of the stuff that I would need to make it look good, that I would want it to make it look. I would want stuff in the background. I wouldn't just want a blank wall behind me. I would want stuff like you see with other people's podcasts. You'd have stuff in the background to kind of fill the wall space where it doesn't look so blank and doesn't look so bad. But I don't have that. I didn't get that done, or I don't have that option, whatever excuse it is. And whatever I would have done just wouldn't have looked good. So I'm going to keep playing with this a bit more. I don't know if I like the sound wave stuff around the logo. I do like it. I just don't know if I like this style of sound waves. It kind of looks, it makes it just looks like a sunflower, and it kind of looks weird. So I might play with that a bit more for next week's show. But I'm trying to get some more stuff set up and make it look better and actually put some more effort into this, So I am trying here. I appreciate, again, everybody listening. I hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully y'all, after my nice long break and hiatus, will be back again with me next week, and will be back with me on this episode. But until then, it's the same thing as always. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to shout from the rooftops all my stuff. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will be back with y'all this next coming week. Peace out. Or take it easy, actually. Take it easy.